Hey, what's up, everybody? Jonathan Bailor and April Perry, and we are back in action with another SANE show. What's going on, April? How you doing today?
I am so excited to record. I love the SANE show. One of my favorite things to do is get to record and talk about how we can make our lives so much better, so much healthier. And the feeling that I'm getting as I'm receiving emails and hearing from our listeners is that people are feeling so excited and relieved to have found SANE. And today we get to answer more questions.
Well, today we're going to talk about we usually talk about the long term, which is super important because you know what? We're around for the long term. So if something goes great this week, but then not for the rest of our lives, that's no good. But today we're going to take it on a smaller scale. We're going to look at a SANE day. Is that right?
Yes, because we received a question that said, what does a typical sane day look like? Like, I would just love to see a daily example of a successful sane person eating. What time do they eat? How are they combining vegetables and proteins and whole food fats? What does that really look like? And then there's been a lot of other questions coming in. Should I eat 3 meals a day? How about 6 meals a day? Does it really matter? What about exercise? Does a sane person move a ton? Are they like walking and moving and on a treadmill, a desk treadmill or whatever all day? Or what's the minimum amount of, movement that they could do and still count as being sane? So I think there's just a lot of the questions that are really specific, and thought maybe we could just talk about those general categories and explain this ideal sane day.
The high level answer is that I want to make sure that people don't have a perception of so SANE has to balance two things, right? We live in a culture which wants really specific stuff like eat this many servings of vegetables and this many servings of protein and this many calories this many times per day.
At 8 o'clock and 4 o'clock.
and those are helpful guidelines as you're starting to go SANE, right? But then maybe as you get the hang of it, you don't necessarily count vegetables anymore because you just eat a lot of vegetables. I think that's probably the position you're in, April. I don't know if you count how many servings of vegetables you take in anymore.
I always make sure it's at least 10, but that usually happens by lunch. So I'm not worried about
There
it.
you go.
Eating a lot
So
of vegetables.
in terms of like what does a typical SANE day look like? A radically saner day just looks like the way people ate 50 years ago.
Okay.
So prior to the obesity epidemic, everybody ate way saner. Would we say they ate a perfectly sane lifestyle? No, because a perfectly sane lifestyle is designed to take someone who is struggling with metabolic dysfunction and to heal them. Whereas if you were alive in the 1940s and ate natural whole foods for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, you didn't become overweight or diabetic in the first place, right? In the early 1900s, about 1 in every 4,000 of us were diabetic, and about 3% of us were overweight and or obese. Today, it's about
That's amazing.
70% of us are overweight or obese, and 1 in 4 of us are diabetic or pre-diabetic. So I don't want this to be like too short of a show, but a typical SANE day looks like the way we ate prior to the obesity epidemic.
Okay, I think that's really an exciting way to start, because as we're looking especially at the foods that are mostly available to us today or that are encouraged to be eaten, if that food didn't exist back when your grandmother was born, then that's most likely not something we'd be eating sanely. So let's assume that the person asking this question understands the general concept of which foods are sane. So totally on board when it comes to non-starchy vegetables, nutrient-dense protein, whole food fats, low fructose fruits, feeling like, okay, I'm going to eat these foods. But here's some of those specific questions, like, okay, when are they eating typically? So let's just talk, for example, we can discuss the idea of how often we are eating. I know in past shows, we've talked about how some people are eating 3 meals a day, but that as we talked about becoming more toned, or as we're lifting weights or lowering weights or eccentric exercises, we may want to increase that to 4 to 6 times a day, that we're reaching the muscle protein synthesis and being able to build more muscle. So I'd love to talk a little bit about that. And also there was a study that I included that I'd heard about. I'll just share it briefly so we can answer kind of the question in the context of everything I'm throwing at you in a second. But it says a 2009 study from the British Journal of Nutrition tells a story that researchers put overweight men and women on carefully controlled reduced calorie diets. Half of the subjects ate their calories spread out over 6 meals a day. The other half ate the same number of calories in just 3 meals a day. It was for 8 weeks. Both groups lost a lot of weight, but there was no difference between the groups in weight loss, fat loss, hunger ratings, or blood hormone. So as I'm reading that, I'm just, oh, like that's something really interesting to talk about. How often should I be eating? Why? Is it a big deal? And how can Jonathan make my life happier by telling me the answer?
Well, the first thing I'll say is I love that you brought up a study, and I want to give my quick disclaimer that I give to everyone, which is if you want to get really confused really quickly, like look at one study and then like, oh, that study said eat 3 meals. Because then if you do a Google Scholar search for 6 meals, you'll find 8 studies that show that eating 6 meals per day are better for you. And the reason there's a reason there's confusion there, because we use terms like which is better without qualifying for what, which is better for what, exactly what goal. So we can talk hypothetically as much as we want, or we can talk about like, what do people who have success do in the real world? So for example, if you ask any professional bodybuilder or figure athlete how many meals per day they eat, they will say 5 to 8. Because the only way that they can take in the amount of nutrition they need without having digestive chaos happen is to break those meals out across their day. So one way to think about this is we got to say, what are your primary goals? So like if one of your primary goals is to eat 15 servings of vegetables in a day, and you can say that's a silly goal or that's a great goal, but let's just say that's your goal. Trying to eat 15 servings of vegetables in 3 meals per day might give you terrible gas.
I love how you can say that with a straight face. Okay.
So that might not be the best approach. However, if you are a contestant on The Biggest Loser and you get paid $1 million, I don't know if this is the way the show works. I never actually watched it because it makes me angry and sad simultaneously. If your goal is to win $1 million in 12 weeks, the ideal number of meals for you to eat, and your only goal is short-term success, and you do not care about your long-term health, you should eat 0 meals per day. Because the fastest way to lose weight in the short term with no regard for your quality of life or health is to not eat. So we have to look at what your goal is and then work back from there.
Okay, so what if someone's goal is just to be thin? They just want to be thin. And they don't want to starve themselves, but they want to be as thin as possible. What would you say as far as how often they should eat?
They should eat the number of meals per day that make it as enjoyable as possible for them to eat sanely. Let me unpack that a little bit.
Okay.
So your attempt to change your life for anything, eating, exercise, relationships, professional, will be successful to the extent that it does not depend on your willpower. Like if you have to grit your teeth throughout the process, eventually it's probably not going to work out. So if eating, we understand that you've got to eat vegetables, protein, fats, low fructose fruits in that order. You know, no one's going to have great success eating a bunch of processed fat, starches, and sweets.
Yeah.
If doing that in 3 meals per day makes you feel great and you love it, and trying to eat like 4 or 5 or 6 meals per day is like, oh, this is a pain. How do I fit this in? Then you would eat 3 meals per day. But if you're hungry every 3 hours and that works better for you, then you'd eat 6 meals per day. The goal is what makes it easiest for you to eat the right quality of food, and let that determine how frequently you're eating.
Okay, that was brilliant right there, because that helps answer a question that I've had, because I've been, talking with you and doing this podcast for a while and learning about it. There are some days when I'm working here in the office with Eric, we've got a ton of things going on, live classes, podcasting, tons of work. I'm not even thinking about food. And so I don't even feel hungry at all, but I'll have breakfast and then, realize the kids are coming home from school. I'm like, oh my gosh, I never even ate. And so those days when I honestly don't feel hungry at all, and I'm basically just in my office and I'm not doing a whole lot of physical activity, I don't really feel like I need to eat a lot. But then there are some days where I'm out and about, we're going places, and I'm seriously hungry every 2 hours. And I love SANE because I never have to say, I'm hungry, but I'll just hold on until the clock says this time and then I get to eat. I used to do that. I used to set my schedule when I was able to eat. And I remember there was one day, because I was seriously counting my calories. I wanted to see the scale move so badly. I had 3 preschoolers at the time, so I'm busy with children all day, and I was determined to make the scale move. So I hardly ate. I was counting my calories, and I would meter the calories out throughout the day. And I remember one day, like, my stomach was growling and it was hurting so bad, and I was so hungry, and my kids all needed me. And I was like, just one more hour, April, you can do it. Just one more hour. Now I did see the scale move that week, but I remember at the end of the week, I thought, okay, so the only way the scale moves for me is if I'm miserable and hungry the whole week with my kids. And, and as a logical person, that that drove me crazy. It felt ridiculous that I would even think of doing that, but honestly, that was the only thing that I could see as a solution. So I really appreciate you saying that.
April, that story is a beautiful illustration of, I think, a sane mindset shift that we need to make, or I would strongly recommend that we make. I think sometimes our questions, our mindset, our culture will train us to say, like, what's a 10 out of 10? And pursuing that 10 out of 10 is the most important thing. But what we often find is that, like, maybe we can be a 10 out of 10, but we can't consistently be a 10 out of 10. And then when we aren't a 10 out of 10 consistently, we say, forget it, I'm going to go to a 3 out of 10.
Yeah.
I think we can all agree, and the science backs it up, that if you can consistently, for the rest of your life, without a lot of effort or strain, be an 8 out of 10, you will get radically better results than, like, every 3-day spurts of being a 10 out of 10, and then 27 days of feeling depressed and being a 2 out of 10, and doing another 3-day spurt of trying to be a 10 out of 10. It's that consistency over time. And what you'll find, April, I think, is, let's say that you're consistently a 5 out of 10 for a month. That might cause, and it will cause, taste changes and habit changes, so that the next month, maybe you can be a 6 out of 10 consistently, because 5 out of 10 is easy now. So focusing less on, like, what is the ideal, and I'm going to do that right now. It's focusing more on, what can I consistently do? Because consistency over time, that's the secret. So we want to know the secret? Here's the secret. The secret to success in all areas of life is consistency over time. Because unless you can do it consistently over time, any success that you have will go away as soon as you stop. So that's the only way.
Jonathan, we need to put that in flashing lights. Honestly, Aaliyah and I just had this conversation the other day, because there are people in our community who we love and adore. School teachers, friends at church, community members, and we'll hear them talking about their diets, or their, say things like, I'm on a terrible diet right now, and I'm sorry, I'm so grumpy. Or, yeah, I'm really, working out 45 minutes a day. There's this big thing going on in our community right now where it's like this lose 20-pound challenge. You work out 45 minutes, a really hard workout. You're posting social media every day. You're not eating very much. And people are, posting how much weight they're losing because they're feeling successful, right? Want to share it on social media. It's like a requirement. You have to share it every day. So they're getting tons of marketing, and everyone's kind of jumping on this bandwagon. But, like, 45 minutes a day to do a hard workout and not be eating, I can't do that. I don't want to do that. And I love how sane you showed me that I can get 80% of the results with 10% of the effort. If you could apply that to any other area of your life, like a job, if you could put 10% of the effort in your regular work week and get 80% of the income, like, who wouldn't make that trade, right? It makes so much sense. And Aaliyah was just saying, Mom, these people know about SANE, or they see what's happened in our family. Like, how come you don't do SANE? And I feel like there's kind of this promise, this siren call of quick weight loss, and you're going to be able to do this. And if it's not sustainable, we're not.
And that's the key. Everything you just said, April, is absolutely true. And I want to take it even one step further, which is, you talked about we can get 80% of the results with 10% of the effort. And that is absolutely true. What's even maybe even cooler, so let's say, is I can guarantee you that 95% or more of the individuals who are doing that short-term thing, 2 years from now, The person who is applying the 10% effort, getting 80% of the benefit, living sanely, 2 years from today will be in a better place than the individual who is successful in the next 12 weeks. So like that's
the tortoise and the hare. It's a little
so it's not exactly. So it's not even like you can get 80% of the benefits. You will get radically more benefits long term than you would from applying 100% of the effort in the short term, because 100% effort isn't sustainable unless you're a professional. So that's like, it's not even like you're compromising and saying, well, I'm happy just getting 80% of the results. Your long-term results will be radically better than anything else. And if you want any evidence of that, ask any human being who's ever dieted, and they'll say, I yo-yoed and I ended up worse than when I started. So the long term is the key.
You know what? And I feel so grateful to be able to talk about this on the podcast, because of course I'm not going to go up to my friends who are doing this and, you know, and say anything negative to them, because I see like they're working their hearts out. They're doing the best they can because they feel a pain regarding their body, their weight, and they're trying to fix it. So I feel such love and compassion. And I was there, like I was doing that, and I was miserable. And I don't know if those friends listen to this show, but if they do, I just want to send my love and say, like, Jonathan Bailor knows what's going on. Can you just listen to him and see what a difference? Try it, see what happens, because you give SANE a chance. Oh my gosh. I mean, life transformation. I was just thinking the other day, I feel like I've been, 95% there as far as mental and being sane, just saying like, oh, am I finally healed of all of these challenges? And actually yesterday I was thinking about it. I was like, you know what? I feel like I've finally gotten to nutritional serenity and the mental freedom. I don't even think about it. Like, it's not even on my mind. It's not even a pain point at all. I'm eating my kale. I've got part of a cucumber. I totally eat cucumbers with the peel on. Is that so random? Eric thinks it's gross, but I'm like loving my vegetables and I'm having a great time. I'm never hungry. I feel so good. I feel so good. And it's been 2 years being sane and couldn't be happier. So
Well,
do you like my testimonial?
I really appreciate that, April. And I think the challenge that we face is it's not, in some ways, it's not unique. Well, not in all ways, it's not unique to diet. It's not unique to exercise. We have this monkey on our back when it comes to human nature. I mean, this is why people get such a kick out of hearing about Warren Buffett, right? Because Warren Buffett has the most boring investment strategy in the world. And if you want to find like one other area which is more oriented around quick fix results, like here are the two. Type on the internet fast weight loss and you'll see a cajillion search results, and then make money fast, right? Those are the two areas where it's like quick fix. And in all these areas, like anytime we're going for world's class, long-term excellence, sustainability, the secret, I don't, whether it's Michael Jordan, whether it's someone who has a beautiful family, whether it's Warren Buffett, whether it's someone who's fit in their 70s, they're not doing some sort of magic secret formula. They just are they're consistent. That's the trick. They're consistent. That's all but that's not sexy. But it's not sexy. It's not sexy to be consistent.
Yeah, but you know what? When you're choosing a spouse, you're looking for consistency, right? Mm-hmm. When you're choosing a job, you're looking for an employer who's going to be consistent in paying you. When you're looking to grow a business, you want consistency, right? And clients coming in. And I mean, in every area of our lives, we need consistency, because without it, we're stressed out. But I think we have to just apply that to our food. Like, that's got to become part of us. So I love it. Okay, last question on this. Minimum amount of exercise versus maximum on a same day spectrum. And this actually comes from Aaliyah. Here's her question. She, yesterday I said, hey, Aaliyah, I'm podcasting with Jonathan. Any questions? How are you doing? Because she's doing great. I mean, it's almost 2 years for her, saying she's 16 years old, never been healthier and happier. Looks fantastic. Like, seriously, I just have to tell you this. She gets home from school and she's talking to me about her day. I'm listening to her talk about her day, but in my mind, I'm like, I can't believe this was my little girl who struggled with her weight for years. Like, she looks so beautiful and so healthy. I honestly, I have a hard time even paying attention to what she's saying, because I'm just so mesmerized by how amazing she just radiates this beautiful sanity. I love it. Okay, so she'll detour, but her question for you. She's like, what's the minimum amount of exercise I can do? Because right now she has PE at school, so she does yoga 3 days a week. And she walks to and from school. So she's, she's active and she's walking to classes and she's doing stuff. So she's an active, normal human being. She hates exercise. That's like why as a child, she wasn't out there jumping on the trampoline, doing cartwheels and playing. She doesn't like it. She likes reading. She likes art. She's very, musically talented. So what would you suggest for somebody as far as who doesn't love exercise? What's kind of the minimum they can get away with and still be considered sane? Is that a bad question to ask?
Still be considered sane. So I think there's a very big distinction between someone who's trying to heal their metabolism actively versus someone who's already got a healthy metabolism and they just don't want to regress or go downhill, right?
Right.
So exercise itself is a new concept, right? Prior to the 1960s, no one really used the word exercise because people just moved around. So in terms of just long-term human health, if you are physically active, like moving as people standing, walking, taking the stairs, not sitting for 16 hours per day, that is what people did for the entirety of human history and avoided obesity and diabetes.
Now she's not out gathering fruits and she's not out working in a field and she's not, walking 3 miles to the watering hole. So
some active play would certainly, trying to take a walk, maybe then going a little bit out of your way to get that activity level up would be a good thing. Resistance
training. She doesn't need to be on the elliptical every day.
No. But the one unnatural thing that I would recommend is at least once per week of heavy, intense, safe resistance training, simply because we will, over time, our muscles, our bones will weaken over time unless we, just like we want to challenge our mind continuously, we do want to challenge our muscular structure as well as our skeletal structure to avoid them declining over time. So the minimum is be an active person, active play, and at least once per week of intense, slow, safe, eccentric resistance training.
Okay, I'm feeling excited. Anything else we need to know about a sane day?
A sane day will also consist of lots of quality sleep, which is extremely important. Breathing, drinking a lot of wonderful fluids such as water and green tea, and also ensuring that you, as much as possible, have an amazing amount of positive social contact and support, because it's extremely important for our mental health and our lowercase sanity. So those loving relationships are very important as well. So, that's another thing, spending an hour and a half at the gym, beating yourself up, and which is counterproductive, and then having 90 minutes less with the people who are responsible for your mental health, also not a good trade-off. So make sure you're putting those relationships at the top of the priority queue.
Love it. Okay, so I would suggest the next action would be something like evaluate your current day and then find one way to make it saner, and then keep doing that. What do you say? Any other suggestions?
I love it. No, I think that's great, April. That's a wonderful next action. And remember, while you're doing that, while you're identifying your next your sane day, your one step to tomorrow and every day after, stay sane. We'll chat with you soon. Bye-bye.